Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dee Reinhardt, and we are going to be getting started with our Dashboards and Reports webinar. We're going to be talking about the tools that are going to be available on the ATIM guide about the dashboards and the reports. And we do have Natasha Tulger on the call today, and she is going to do this demonstration for us, and hopefully you can pick up a few nuggets. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Natasha right away.
Thank you, Dee. Today we're going to talk about the dashboards and reports. We're going to take a look at the intake dashboard, which is currently available in production. We'll take a look at the training and employment plan dashboard, as well as work-based learning / jobcast forecast and openings dashboard. And if you have any questions, go ahead and enter them in the chat. And we have Chelsea, Lacey, Dee. Everyone can help either answer those questions or pull them off to the side so that I can take a look at them. Unfortunately, we don't have Mike Baker with us today because he is on the road. But if I cannot answer your question, then we will take it and have and put that in FAQ and get back with you. So the first thing we're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at the ATIM intake dashboard. Now the dashboard is available for state level staff, so they can take a look at the overview for the tallies for all of the regions. But then your regional staff will have access to the information, the applicant information for their region. If you have access to multiple regions, then you will be able to select your region to view your tallies. This first section that we have, I want to spend a little bit of time on this piece of the dashboard. This is our step one, and the process or the steps on this dashboard follow directly with the ATIM eligibility section within the ATIM tool. So the very first piece is the we have eligibility information, and we get that information from IWDS. So what happens is, just as a little recap review, is a customer completes their application, and that information is sent to IWDS. They're identified as an ATIM customer, and you can go in and identify, you can enter in their TABE and their reading and their math scores, and then you'll select the certify button, and the certify button sends the information back to LMI WorkNet to let us know if they're WIA eligible or not. Now the thing that I want to cover, spend a little bit of time on, is we do pull the information for whether a person has passed their reading or math assessment, and the minimum score for the reading and math is a 6th grade level. And so we pull out information. So if you click on any of these links, then you'll see the list of people. It goes to a reports page, and you'll be able to see that list of people. Now, there are instances where people have entered in their TABE and their reading assessments information into IWDS, but for whatever reason, they haven't selected the certify button yet. Maybe they're not to that point, but that is the trigger that lets us know if they are either eligible or not eligible or ready to be assigned. So if that button hasn't been selected, they could possibly show up as either passed reading, passed math, and still show up as not assigned, or they could be failed, and not assigned. Okay, so you kind of have to look at this whole step, understanding that there are different combinations of how these reading and math numbers could fall within either not assigned, ready to be assigned, and not eligible. Obviously, if they have failed both or either reading or math, they will be either not eligible or not assigned. And if they pass both the reading and the math, then they'll either be in ready to be assigned or not assigned. Again, the trigger is clicking that certify button, and then the IWDS system will let us know if they are eligible or, I'm sorry, not eligible or ready to be assigned. So this is one great big step, okay? We did add the withdraw button, so at any point in time, you can withdraw a person up until they are put into random assignment. Once they have been put into random assignment, then they'll have to go through the withdrawal process from the IWDS side. So that's why we have these withdrawal links that are available here.
Natasha, we've got a question from the floor real quickly. If we know that someone is not eligible, should we still follow through with the certification process just so they get identified as not eligible?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
That'll give the trigger that they're, just not eligible and kind of put them off to the side. Okay. And so one of the things, another thing I wanted to point out is that we have, within this whole process for this step, we have them marked as yellow, green, and red. So the key for step one is the overall, are they WIA eligible or not? So if they are WIA eligible, then they can move on to the next step. If they're not WIA eligible or they have withdrawn up until this point from the process then to be considered, then they don't move on to the next step. If they're not assigned, that means they can't go to the next step yet. Okay? So along each of these steps, you'll be able to see who has the total as far as completing this step. So you'll have your to be assigned, not eligible. Those people have completed this step, but we know that we have a fallout rate of for those that are not eligible. So you'll be able to see your loss rate and your enrolled rate on this dashboard.
Okay, Natasha, we have a question then. Should we withdraw them if they are not eligible?
Yes, you can withdraw them, yes. And then what the withdrawal, that's a good question because I kind of glazed over that. What happens when you have select the withdraw button, you would select the person from your customer list and you would mark them, that customer, as withdrawn, and then they are removed from your customer list. Now, the data associated with them is not removed. You can still access them. Maybe you selected the wrong person on accident. Maybe their name was similar, whatever reason. Maybe they changed their mind. You can still access that person. You simply go to the link, withdrawn, wherever that person was in that process, and you'll be able to see that person, access their profile, and then mark them as, undo withdrawn. So you can do that.
Okay, and we have one more question that I think probably goes in this area. It says, so if we certify those that we know are not eligible, then we are liable for their performance on IWDS?
Now, when I say certify, what I guess the correct words I should have used are attempt to certify. Because when you attempt to certify, that sends the information to Illinois WorkNet and lets us know that they're not eligible, but they aren't actually going through the certification process because really before they can be certified, as I understand it, within IWDS, they have to either be a veteran or within marked as within the they can't complete that process until they're assigned to a group, whether it's, I believe, veteran or a treatment group. Withdrawal function is in WorkNet. Yes, the withdrawal function is within WorkNet. So the withdrawal function just simply hides that person and gets them out of the mix, so you don't have to they don't clutter up your customer list and so forth. It's before they're in, marked as, before they are, let me restate this. The withdrawal within Illinois WorkNet can occur on a customer within the ATIM process up until the point which they go into random assignment. Once they go into random assignment and they're assigned to a customer group, assigned to a group, whether it's control, treatment, or veteran, then they can, then that process takes over in Illinois WorkNet, in IWDS, and that needs to be taken care of in IWDS. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this dashboard, but ask your questions and we'll go ahead and answer them. Okay, so I have my people that have passed WIA eligibility, and so they come down into this section. Okay, so once a person has been marked as WIA eligible, then as the team, you review their information and decide whether a person is ATIM eligible. Are they a good fit for this program? Do they hate manufacturing, or do they seem to have a tendency to like manufacturing? Do you think, will they succeed in this program? So you set that ATIM eligibility within Illinois WorkNet, and so you can either set them as eligible or not eligible. If you haven't completed that process yet, they're just simply not set. Okay, so for this example, you have your WIA eligible, and they go down to the next level. So you have your 10 people, and they can go on to the next step because they have been identified as WIA eligible. So then you have your drug test. So you have your person that you can either, you haven't gotten to that step for them. Maybe they just turned WIA eligible and you haven't had an opportunity to update their profile to include a drug test. So in that case, they would be not set if they don't have anything for that field. They could either be scheduled or they could be failed. And now remember, with the drug test section, you can have them take the drug test multiple times. There are reasons why people may not pass a drug test that have nothing to do with them actually, using illegal drugs. They could have failed the test, but as soon as you mark them as passing the drug test, then they can move on to the next level, which is group placement. So you'll see I have 6 people in the green, and those 6 people have moved down here, so they're available. They can either be assigned to the veterans if they are a veteran, and we get this information from IWDS. So yes, they do self-identify if their veteran status in the application, but then we do go back and get that verified veteran information from IWDS. Since you will be working with them and verifying if they are or not a veteran. If a person hasn't been placed in a group yet, they're at not set with not set. And then once they have been added into random assignment, then they come back and the random assignment system updates Illinois WorkNet as either control or treatment. And so if you have a person that has completed their drug test, but then decided, you know what, I'm moving to Alaska and I'm not going to participate in this program anymore, you can withdraw them, and that's where you'll see they withdrew before group placement because they were not entered into random assignment yet.
Okay, Natasha, while we're here, is there a withdraw button on the individual's application? Like the applicant?
Well, what happens is that they will complete an application, and once they complete an application, their information is in, Illinois WorkNet IWDS, but then in their profile, you'll go to your customer list, you see your person there, and you can select the link to their profile. And from their profile, you'll see the withdraw button. So it's once they have submitted their application, they can be withdrawn. Okay. And then do we enter a person in IWS after TAVE, drug test, or what? Okay, we'll just go back just because I see a couple questions. What happens, the process is this. The person completes an application. The application submits that information to IWDS. Once they're in IWDS, then you go through and have them complete the WIA eligibility piece. So you can have them complete the reading and math assessments, enter your information, verify they are who they are and all that kind of good stuff that you do in IWDS. When you attempt to certify in IWDS, it updates the WIA eligibility piece in LMyWorkNet. And that's where we find out if they are ready to be assigned or not eligible. Okay? So when you attempt to certify, that just kind of gets the ball rolling so that you can move on to your next steps, because we don't want you to go through the interview process and all the ATIM eligibility determination on people that just aren't eligible anyway. So save your time and their time. So those people that are ATIM or that are WIA eligible, then you complete your eligibility determination. That could be interview questions. It depends on the region. Actually, the Central region just provided some interview questions that they have used with their people, and I made those available just literally right before the webinar through the ATIM tools on the resources page. So that's one example. Then there are other tools that you can use. Maybe it's the knock key or work keys, or just the different tools and career and interest inventories, information that you would use to determine if this is a good match for them. And then you identify whether they're ATIM eligible. Then we recommend having them take the drug test, because you've narrowed it down to the people that are good candidates for the program. Okay. And who pays for the drug test? If an individual pays and then reimbursed, or what?
I believe didn't we have a big discussion on one of the webinars about this? And the drug tests could come out of either business fund, the company's funds that might be doing the hiring, or it could come out of some of the supportive services funds. Is that what I remember?
Yeah, Eileen, I'd have to look at the FAQ questions to.
And I was just looking through there. I've asked Chelsea to look up that as well.
Okay. Okay. And then, okay. So anyway, so that's the gist of the intake dashboard. So you get an overview. You can quickly see where people are within this process. Click on the link, and it takes you to the reports for that person. So it takes you to the reports page, and you'll see the other filters. But whenever you click on the report or the link from the dashboard, then it tells you in your big green box what is your filter criteria, and it provides you with your list. And so you'll have your list of people. You select the link from your person in the list, and you go to their profile, where you can enter, update their eligibility, or make updates, do whatever you need to do for that individual. Okay. I see Chelsea just added the answer, it looks like. Okay, thank you, Chelsea. So now that I just mentioned that you go from your dashboard, it'll take you to the reports. I do want to cover a couple of different reports that are available and just talk about them a little bit. We are reviewing the access levels to each of these areas, so we're working with DCO on that, and we'll have more information for you as far as the different partner roles and what tools that those partners can access. So we'll have more information next week. But these are the reports that we do have available now. And we have the ATIM Eligibility Report, which is basically what we see right here. We have the Incomplete Application Report. This came up because some of the areas, they wanted to know, did a person, like get kicked out, or did they not complete, for whatever reason? Did they just not, actually hit submit? So with recruiting is a big piece of this whole process, because you're simply just going to need the numbers. You know that people are going to fall out for whatever reason, whether it's they're not eligible, their test scores, make them ineligible, or maybe they just lose interest. For whatever reason, you're really going to need your numbers of people, and on top of that, you might have some veterans, which we don't. It's great if veterans are welcome to participate, but we don't want to encourage, recruiting veterans simply because as part of the study, they can't be included as part of the study. Since they can't be put in control, then it's really not random assignment for them. So they can't be included in the study, and we still need your 70-30% as far as 30% in control and 70% in a treatment group, and that's identified through your random assignment. But so it's really, really important that you're working on the recruiting and getting these numbers in, numbers of people in, and completing their applications. And so some of our OEAs had mentioned that, well, we'd like to see some of those incomplete applications, because it might simply be a low-hanging fruit where we can contact them, and maybe they just didn't complete the last page. Maybe they got halfway through and for whatever reason had to leave. So you can use that report to identify those people and potentially recruit more ATIM applicants or customers. Then we have our random assignment data entry report, and this is locked down so that only specific people that have been identified have access to the random assignment data entry report. And those are the people that literally enter it into the random assignment system, and it is locked down because there's social security numbers and personal information that you need to have with that report. And then we have the post-random assignment report. So if you want to pull a report of those people in your area that are in a treatment group or control group, you can use that to pull that report. The next thing that we have that's in the works of being baked, so we can put it out there in production. Okay, well, real quick, before I see Jeremy has a question. Going off my previous question, feel free to answer later. When you say certify button, what button do you mean on what system? Good question. That is in IWDS. And there are some instructions that are available that Jim Potts has put out, he's emailed some instructions out there, and then they've added some more instruction within the IWDS system. So whenever you attempt to certify in IWDS, that gives us our re-eligibility. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if someone has not completed the app and wants to go back to do it, does the app instruct them as to what needs to be completed in the app? Yes. And we actually, off of the ATIM page, we have a icon, and I believe it says something to the effect of, well, complete your I'll just go there real quick. I'll do a screen share real quick so everybody sees this. Okay, I'm getting there right now. Hope it doesn't kick me out. Okay. So since we've had some application questions, we would simply go to the ATIM page, and there is an icon with a link to return to your ATIM application. Okay. I'm going to move this off to the side just right now, and we'll come back to the screen sharing if we need to. Okay, so the next thing on the list, we're going to talk about the treatment group for their personalized training and employment plan. So what happens after they have been put into, randomly assigned, so they're either veteran group or treatment, then what they'll need to do is they need to be put into you have your team, and then you add them to your team, and then they will get their personalized training plan. Now, the control group doesn't get a personalized training plan, but they get their personalized training plan, and there's different components. And now remember, the plan in Illinois WorkNet is simply that. It's a plan. You can add dates to it. You can modify dates to it. You can identify if they're on track or off track. But this dashboard will take that information from that plan and give you a summary, high-level view that you can drill down into more detail. But you have an overview of where everybody is within their personalized training and employment plan. But then it also pulls in actual dates from IWDS, so that's kind of neat. So for each of these sections in the plan, these are the items that we covered in previous webinars. You have your phase 1, your expanded bridge, which is your career development, your personalized training plan, MSSC level 1, safety. Then you have your optional training and your technical training and your work-based learning, and then permanent placement. So we have the totals. We have the dates that are on target. So we have a little kind of like a tracker or dashboard for your dates. And then we also have a section that's a dashboard or kind of like a tracker, if you want to say, I don't know, that's on track, off track. So for all of these people, everything is defaulted to on track. And your team members have the ability to mark a person if they're off track. So for example, let's just say that I'm on track, but maybe I got into a car accident and broke my leg and I'm going to be out for a while or something. Then I might be off track, so they just mark the person off track to indicate that, we need to go back, reevaluate this, and update the plan so that our dates match up and make sure that this person stays on track. And then we have an area for identifying when that service is complete. And then we also have some actuals from IWDS. So it's pulling information that a case manager is entering into IWDS, pulling that information from IWDS so that the other team members can see, when they've successfully, completed an area, kind of give an overview level. And again, you can see this at the state level if you have that access level. Otherwise, you would have access to the tallies and information for your region or regions if you have access to multiple regions. As I mentioned before, we have an area that's specifically for the start and end date. And remember, this is the plan, so it's required, but it's not locked down. So we understand life happens and dates have to change. So you would be able to update that information. We also have the on-track, off-track. Again, defaults to on-track. Team members have the ability to mark off-track if for whatever reason the person is off-track. just a flag so that we know we need to do something with this person to get them back on track. Those are the areas that I just showed you earlier on the previous screen. Okay, so then let me go ahead and cover this slide, and then I'll take, ooh. We're getting back on page. Here we go. So let me cover this slide, and then I'll take a look at some of those questions again. Okay, so now we look at the actual section. Okay, the actuals come from IWDS, and it's based on the activity and the current status for the activity, and that's what we use to populate this area within the ATIM dashboard. So, for example, if I had my step 1, my career development and exploration, I can see that in IWDS, this person has been marked with a career development exploration activity. That's the code that we use. We use that, and then we use that in combination with the status, the current status. And so for this example, if they have a career development exploration and a successful completion status, they are included in this count under successful completion. Same would be true for unsuccessful or for active. That's also marked as open. So those are the areas that we have on the dashboard. So Dee, if you don't mind, since you've been following the questions, are there questions that I haven't answered that I still need to?
Yes, there are a few out here. If you could answer, do we enter a person in IWDS after the TABE and drug test or some other time?
You would enter them. I believe you would enter them with the the TABE and the reading, and you would do all the information that you need to do like normally. With their reading and math and all the information that you have to verify within IWDS, and then, attempt to certify. And that will let you know if they're ready to be assigned or not eligible, because, we don't want you to waste your time, drug testing people that aren't even eligible.
Okay, so after TABE.
Yes, and the system is locked down so that you can't enter the drug test into the ATIM tools until not only after you determine if they're WIA eligible, but then also the ATIM eligibility.
Okay, so they need to enter them into IWDS as an inquirent and determine whether or not they're WIA eligible before they go further with the ATIM.
Yes.
Yes. All right. And then please verify for me, when we attempt to certify, what field in Illinois WorkNet changes?
That is in, I have my, I have my test, let me go here and get this window back. I have my test. I don't have real data in here, so I'm not sharing personal information. I'm going to go to my customer list. And Sarah, yes, correct. You don't bring them in. You don't enter them into IWDS. They're entered into, when they complete the application, identified as an ATIM customer. Okay, so once you select a person,
are you going to be sharing your screen? Because it's
not. Oh, I thought I was. I'm sorry.
No.
There we go. Let me go back. I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Now it's coming up.
Okay. Okay, one moment. It kicked me out. Just 1 second, please.
Okay, so let's go on to a different question while we're waiting for your screen to come up.
Okay.
I'm wondering if the application on IWDS is different for ATIM than what we are used to for our other grants. I agree that if it is the same, we would need testing, et cetera, complete before we could ever get to the certify button. I'm also still confused as to what attempt to certify means. You either certify them or not, at least in the system we are used to.
Well, yes, it does say certify, so that's the wording that came from Jerry Eward with DCO, is that you're attempting to certify because you click the certify button, but then it'll give you a message that you're not able to certify them yet because they have to be added to they have to be assigned to a group. That's why we use the word attempt to certify. Okay, so now I'm sharing my screen. I go to my customer list, and I'll just pick Chelsea. And I selected her profile, and I have her ATIM eligibility. And with the ATIM eligibility, you can see that IWDS has updated this record to show that they are ready to be assigned, and I have my math, reading, and math scores available. So that's where you'll see, this is where IWDS updates ATIM. Okay, next question. Dee, was there another question?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes. When another person says, I am still trying to understand when person shows up as ATIM customer in IWDS, person completes ATIM app, how do they end up in IWDS under ATIM customer? Sorry, it just does not seem clear to me.
When they complete their ATIM application, the information is submitted to IWDS, and they're flagged as an ATIM customer. So you follow the process in Jim Potts' instructions for IWDS, and you search for the ATIM customer. And
all right. So
okay, for Trish, what I said right here, this particular person right here, this is what I'm showing you right now is on my test server. So I'll take a look to see what's on your dashboard. Okay. I think we're good.
I think we've gotten everything. Let me scroll back up here a second. And
right, okay, I see Sarah's question. As far as I can tell, we probably still go through the guided application after we pick them. Yes, that is true. As part of Jim's information within his instructions, he mentions that you do need to fill in the rest of the information in the guided application, yes. Okay.
Okay, and Sarah asked about requesting access for one of their training providers.
Okay, they can send, go ahead.
The training, everybody just needs to ask for info@illinoisworknet.com to gain access to the workforce partners if they're not getting it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look on the dashboards for the We just are updating this information. In previous webinars, we haven't called it work-based learning / job forecasting tools, but we are adding the term work-based learning as part of this because through the job forecasting and job openings, what we really are doing are not only identifying the permanent jobs, but also work-based learning opportunities. And so if you've been following along with us for the other webinars, then you'll notice that that's just a little bit different terminology. Okay, so we still will have the dashboard, so the state level, those who have access to state level information will see the tallies for all the regions, and then you will be able to see information for your region or regions if you have access to multiple regions. And this is a pretty straightforward dashboard. It's just simply the occupation. We have the occupational titles, which is machining, general, machining, CNC, mechatronics, welding, and then logistics and inventory. So those are the occupational areas. And then we have different employment types, like I mentioned before. We have the on-the-job training, job shadowing, work experience, internships, permanent employment. So those are the options that you can enter the information in. And then you can select the date ranges. So there are a couple different date ranges that you could have for each of those. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. And then we also have the work-based learning job opening dashboard, and it's very similar, almost the exact same thing as the job forecasting, except there's additional information. You can identify with the tool, you can identify who gets to see this information, whether it's everybody that's interested in that occupational area, or if you want only select people to see it. So once you have entered your information into the job opening tool, then you will be able to see an overview of those job openings on your dashboard. So this one is a little bit different from the forecasting because we do get some actuals from ATIM, but then we also get we can pull information from IWS on the filled openings. So we're still working out some of the details on that, but that is so I just wanted to point out that you'll have a combination of the actuals from ATIM as well as the actual job openings that were entered into the ATIM tools, as well as the actuals that were filled, and that comes from IWDS. So we'll have our date range, again, the occupational areas, whether it's machining general, CNC, mechatronics, welding, logistics, again, your type of employment. So when we are saying the type of employment, we're referencing the work experience. So is it on the job, job shadowing, internships, permanent employment. You'll have your actual number of job openings. These will come from the openings that you have submitted for your region through the work-based learning job openings tool. Then the filled filled job openings will come from IWDS because, again, there's activities that are identified, whether they're on-the-job training, internships, so forth, that are those activities that are within IWS, as well as the permanent employment. So we'll pull that information into the filled job openings. And then we have the balance, and then we're working on to view the openings filled within 30, 60, 90 plus days. So that's a quick overview of the job work-based learning openings dashboard. So before we really talk about any next steps, are there any other questions that I missed?
It looks like we have a question about going through a guided application after we pick them to fill in all the blanks that Illinois WorkNet does not ask for. Has anyone else found this to be true?
Yeah, that's I addressed that one.
You answered that one, okay.
Sarah, yes. Anything
right.
else?
I don't see anything else right now.
Okay. Okay, so for our next steps, basically, take a look at the intake dashboard, and that is currently available in production. And then, let us know if you have any questions, or and then also watch for the release notifications for the new ATIM tools. So a couple things that we're currently working on in parallel are wrapping up the job forecast, or the work now it's called work-based learning, and job forecasts and openings. And then we are also wrapping up working on the training and employment plan. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, thank you very much for joining me today, and you had some really great questions. I appreciate those. We'll go ahead and take a look at those and see which ones, if they're not already in the FAQ, that we can make sure that that information is covered in FAQ. And if you have any questions, you can always send them to info@illinoisworknet.com. That's monitored. So if I'm away from my desk or out of the office, or Chelsea, we can still have somebody to answer your questions right away. And otherwise, thank you very much, and everyone have a great day.
Have a great afternoon.